and probably pull information. So what if you were targeting, just like the telecom, right? You're targeting someone. You knew what kind of devices they had. What if there's a vulnerability one day in one of those devices? It could be anything. It could be a toaster. You could set it on fire or whatever. There's all sorts of things that you could probably do if you wanted to really be paranoid. If a bad actor wanted to go after somebody. Now, the regular person in the world, probably not. You're going to be okay.
Right.
But, like, if you want to get paranoid, it's pretty easy to. Like,
well, this is like the whole idea of the Internet of Everything.
Yes.
Right? Where everything is connected to Wi-Fi, so anybody can get access to you.
Yes.
At any time. It's funny, I had this dude on the podcast a couple of months ago who was explaining to me this whole story. It was such an elaborate fucking story that he went through. He kept evidence and where some Chinese hackers just started contacting him out of the blue and were like telling him things like about his personal life that no one else would know, like stuff that he was doing in his apartment and stuff like this. Like apparently they were like watching him through his TV and listening to him through devices he had in his house, and even like a couple times he saw a drone outside of his window, and they were like trying to convince him to like be a Chinese spy and do all kinds of things. This was all connected to like 5G and all. I mean, it was, I don't remember it all perfectly. But do you remember that dude, Steve?
That
What was that gentleman's name?
Max Lebo.
Max
No.
Lebo. Yeah, see if you can find like a
Because I'm
summary of his
recording.
story. He made a whole podcast about it. It was fascinating. But I mean, that shit got my paranoia level to a 12.
There's, I think too that, like when I worked in email security, you could have, like, we call them mousetraps. You could have the best mousetrap, like on a computer, like an antivirus, a malware or a virus, right?
Right.
However, if I really wanted to go after you, I could go after you. I could find where you live. I could find your LinkedIn. I could find your favorite sports team. I could find your, mother's maiden name, and I could craft something that was so specific. I knew you were going to the Florida State football game this weekend, and here's your tickets because I know you're a season ticket holder because you post it all the time on Facebook. And if somebody wants, like, it's that human intelligence is what I'm getting at.
Right.
Somebody wants to go after somebody, they can. And I think that's where a lot of these, like, bad actor nation states, they're sending people, like, work visas or student visas here to infiltrate the U.S. I firmly believe that. Infiltrate, get information, and that human element is a very difficult thing to get to. Because that could come from anywhere. Like they caught somebody recently for bringing a dang, like, biomedical or bio-warfare. Did you see that from, like, China? It was like a student in Michigan, like two students in Michigan that are like biomed students.
When was this?
It was like past couple months.
Really?
And they brought a biochemical weapon for testing, and they illegally smuggled it in the U.S. They're like facing charges now. Oh my God. And China sent them over here to do it.
See if you can find that, Steve.
I don't know if I described it well enough, but when I saw that, I'm like,
Yeah.
I mean, that's it, man. The human side of it. There we go.
Students in Michigan. The University of Michigan has become the center of controversy involving Chinese scholars allegedly attempting to steal biological materials, raising concerns about the national security of foreign influence in academic institutions. Two Chinese nationals were arrested in June 2025. Holy shit! For attempting to smuggle a potential agro-terrorism weapon, fusarium and graminarium, into the country, which could devastate pose a threat to food security. Holy shit, dude!
Nobody talks about
How did I not hear about this?
And again, you start to think about food security. You start to think about what happened with the pandemic last time, how everybody freaked out. Nobody talks about the energy grid. Nobody talks about the water supply. Those are the most vulnerable. And
People can hack the electric grid, right?
Here's the thing. If you start to hear anyone talking about it, that means something good happened. When I worked in cybersecurity, this is the average for a company to find out that something's happened in their network. So someone hacked them. The average days is 179 days for a company, all these tools and stuff to find out they've been hacked. That's just to find out that they've been hacked. It's not to investigate, to know who did it, to know what was taken, just to even find out that something happened. So when you start to hear about anything about the grid, anything about food supply, any of that, they already know.
Well, there was that crazy story that came out a couple of years ago, maybe it was a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago,
Yeah.
where they found out through just pure incompetence, I think, that the government was buying Huawei telecommunication gear and installing that on cell phone towers right near our nuclear bases.
That's another thing. That's actually a really good point, because then you start to look at this is crazy. I was thinking about this, you made me think. You look at like manufacturing.
That?
Is
Huh?
completely
I don't know.
like the supply chain and all that kind of stuff. That's why we're trying to fix it right now as well.
Right.
We learned some lessons from the
During
pandemic.
yeah.
And the hard thing is you cannot protect these devices very well. They're getting better at it from a cybersecurity standpoint, that are running these supply chain
Oh,
manufacturing
okay.
lines and stuff like that, because they're not like your regular